Good morning and welcome, everyone. Council is convened for a work session this October 29th, 2025 on the 2026 Annual Budget Critical Needs presentation. So Kathleen, I believe you're starting us off.
Yes, thank you. If you can go to the next slide. So for today's discussion, we'll do a quick overview of the process and why we're here today, the financial impacts of these requests. The departments and elected offices will be presenting like a quick overview, 5 minutes or so of their requests in this process. Council does have binders that includes their executive summary and the technical. They will be in order of your binder. We're doing them in alphabetical order. And then, of course, we'll be available to answer any questions. The one thing I would ask council is, during the budget process, there's always an opportunity for council to provide amendments. I would ask that if there's anything in here that you're thinking about, that you don't do those today, just because we have not done the annual budget work session, and then we can work together to get any recommendations or amendments from council at that time. So as you have heard from many years, for some of you, we are in a structural deficit with general fund, which simply means our ongoing expenses are exceeding our ongoing revenues. Due to that, council did provide the direction in this budget process that distinguished new mandated services and funding needs from non-mandated services or general fund critical needs request. So basically, anything that's a new unfunded mandate or like a grant that would go through the normal budget process. And then we had a parallel process going on at the same time, which is what you'll be hearing about today, so that departments and offices still have the opportunity to share what their needs are, because I know most departments and offices have needs because we haven't grown as our population has grown and our service levels have grown. More than just as a reminder, and I'm going to hit a couple highlights from our July 9th council time where we talked about law and justice and general fund. More than 70% of our general fund is law and justice. We have been, and most of those are mandated by law. There are other general fund departments and offices that also have mandated services, and some bring in the most revenues in the county. And while I know council and our team have been really focusing on justice, I also want to just note we do have other critical needs outside of that. Those departments and offices include assessor, treasurer, and our auditor's office, and also our departments that actually support all employees and offices in our county, like budget and human resources. In general, I will say I appreciate, and I know I shared this during our supplemental budget, that our auditor's office partnered with district court and the jail to really look at our 6211 building to maximize our revenues to pay for services. I will say though, in general, even with those, general fund is having to subsidize almost every department or law and justice partner, even with those revenues. So that does not fully do cost recovery for any of our services there. I did want to just briefly say again, the law and justice partners and how much council has actually, I don't know if I brought my slide. It's more than over $100 million that council has provided to law and justice in the last 3 years. And I didn't bring that slide with me. But that incorporated some project positions. And I will note, even during the annual budget process last year, we had more than 100 positions requested. When looking at our deficit, there was less than 5 that were recommended in general fund. And some of those had cost recovery because our general fund structural deficit does not support ongoing positions. With that said, we've been able to allocate project positions in some of our departments and offices to provide like a Band-Aid, and they're usually 2-year project positions. And when we can, we extend them. So at least there's security for 2 years. Project positions also get the majority of our benefits. There is one that they don't, and I can't recall, I'd have to ask HR if it's life insurance. It's one of those benefits, but they do get the full medical and dental. Other examples on how council supported law and justice was the case management system in our prosecuting attorney's office. courthouse space planning and remodel for jury services and others, additional compensation for our sheriff's office employees in jail, and many others. I won't go all of them. I can always resend this presentation to council because I do think it was a valuable item. I also just wanted to remind council of capital priorities that have been discussed with council in the past, including on July 9th. The family law annex, that really triggered some of our space planning that housed one of our courts and our lease came to an end, so we had to find a place for them. The jail remodel and expansion, the clean building initiative, which is an unfunded mandate from the state, the medical examiner's office, we're still trying to find them a location. The Mang facility study that we had done quite a few years ago now, but that really established some of our capital priorities where we have not really taken care of some of our buildings historically. And then finally, the impacts to the jail remodel and expansion, and this would include a sheriff's office administration because they are currently downstairs below the jail. Operating priorities that have been established by council is the general fund structural deficit, public safety, mandated services, countywide service, and level of service. And these are part of your policy discussions that we'll be engaging in, because we've been able to get us by, I would say, every year. This year has been great because of the additional revenue that we're receiving for some of our services, but there's going to be some tough discussions and we need to be planning ahead to make sure, what's the acceptable level of service, even if they're mandated services. So in the presentation today, just to highlight, there were 56 requests that came through that you'll hear about today. Each of the department and offices did submit executive summaries that just kind of was more of a narrative of, what's the issue that they're facing, why is it important, what's the budget impact, and how will increase their services or meet their mandated services. And again, all of those are in your binders. Next slide. The request before you has a general fund impact if all were to be reviewed. Do you need something? Okay. All of the requests before you, if they were approved, would actually have a general fund impact of more than $26.5 million. The operating budget impact is just over 10 million with the capital impact of 16.5 million. And for the ongoing impacts, it would be just under $8 million ongoing if all of these requests were to move forward. So with that said, I'm going to call up on departments to start their presentations so you can hear directly from them. Again, we'll do this in alphabetical order. And so our first one is the assessor. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, counselors.
Good morning.
Michelle, if you could go slow down, there's a slide for all these on the PowerPoint. Or if you go back to the PowerPoint presentation that we were just on, that would be great.
All right. Well, thank you. My name is Michael Fish. I'm the Chief Deputy Assessor. With me is Jill Blair. She's our Senior Management Analyst, also our Levy Specialist and our Budget Analyst. So she wears a lot of hats for our office. And I just want to say a big thank you to Kathleen Otto, Emily Zwetzig, and the entire budget office team for really developing a well thought out, planned, transparent budget process. It's really improved our process in recent years and made it much more easy to collaborate and communicate. So thank you. We'd also like just to take a moment to thank the team members of our assessor's office for their great work this past year, meeting our mandated duties, and then also constantly finding ways to improve their business processes. So they're always looking ways to find better ways of doing their work. As you'll see in our executive summary, our work is really vital to the county, to all our taxing districts in our community. We're an integral part of the Washington State property tax system. So that includes all our state and local taxing districts and the county itself. Each year, we are responsible for adjusting assessed values for over 200,000 properties. These assessed values all roll up to our certified assessment roll. This coming year will be over $117 billion in assessed values. So that assessment roll then is used to equitably assign all our tax responsibilities for what will be over $1 billion of property tax revenues for all our state and local jurisdictions. So the mandated duties that we shared in our executive summary, Those are all governed and have direct oversight by the Department of Revenue. So they ensure that we have uniformity, that we have compliance, that we have fairness in what we do in property tax administration. And I think you guys are all aware that property taxes are our most stable and predictable revenue sources, right? A third of the county's revenues. And for some of our smaller taxing jurisdictions, it's nearly 100% of all their revenue that they receive each year. So moving into our technical special needs requests for this year, we had two in 2026, and these are to continue to meet our mandated duties and keep our appraisal standards strong. These packages include one for a personal property auditor appraiser position for our business personal property team, and includes an IT professional for our assessor's office technical team. So we'll start with the first one, and we'll talk about the personal property position. So last year during our 2025 budget process, we asked for two positions, and we were approved for a single 2-year personal property appraiser project position. Although we had requested the two positions, we are extremely thankful for having the one project position because it's made an immediate impact to our personal property program. This year was the first year in probably 40 plus years where we've been able to complete all our assessed valuation changes, adding new businesses, doing a lot of that work by August 31st. That ability to finish on time allowed us, our appraisers, to get out in the field and start doing business discovery, adding over 500 new personal property accounts. That estimated conservatively at about $70 million of assessed value. So that's great work by that team. And they'll also have the capacity to go out and do audits of existing businesses and those businesses that even haven't filed new updated asset listings or maybe have never done so, where we've always estimated their assets for them. So these activities all result in additional value getting added to the role, which is a financial impact to all of us, and then make sure all of our businesses pay their fair share of those state and local property taxes. But you will hear one more thing, and it's our county assessor, Peter Van Nortwick. He's going to ask your support for a different package than the one that we have up on the screen right now, and it's part of our 26 packages, and we'll get to there. It's ASO 0426AD, and it's to convert that project position you approved last year to a permanent position. We think, based on our immediate results and impact, protecting this position is a much higher priority than adding a fourth potential team member to the personal property team at this time. And our second position is for an IT professional for. This request is directly tied to our office succession plan. We have the understanding that several of our technical experts are either at or nearing retirement age, so that's a succession risk for us. Within 3 years, our office loses over 200 years of experience. That's almost an insurmountable loss of institutional knowledge, but it's not impossible to replace. What we need is your support so we can transition some of that knowledge. And sometimes that transition takes more than 2 months or 3 weeks, right? It takes a year, sometimes a year and a half to do that. So by providing the office resources to transfer this knowledge ahead of time and ahead of those critical retirements, you can help us stabilize our operations, ensure we can manage the appraisal systems and our business's processes that we put in place to remain efficient, effective, and to support our office mission, which is the accurate on-time assessments at the least cost to taxpayers. So again, thank you for your support, and we appreciate all of you.
Thank you very much.
I believe our auditor and HR are going to come up jointly for theirs.
Good morning, counselors. Greg Kimsey, County Auditor. Joining me, Laura Provolt, HR Director. In 2026, the Auditor's Office will begin providing an additional $1 million per year to the general fund from an increase in auto licensing fees. We are asking that a relatively small portion of that $1 million be used to address critical issues affecting departments and offices across the county. We are asking for 2 new positions, a payroll supervisor in the Financial Services Department of the Auditor's Office, and a senior representative position in the Human Resources Department. These departments have fewer staff now than they did 10 years ago, While the responsibilities have increased in quantity and even more importantly, significantly in complexity. For example, a new federal law requires us to track overtime differently than our labor contracts do. Both these areas struggle to get through the bare minimum of what is required day to day and don't have the bandwidth to develop and implement changes to improve efficiency. For example, it took payroll almost 3 years to develop the exempt staff time reporting system. Over time, about 50% of the cost of these two positions would be covered through the county's indirect cost recovery plan. Laura, comments on the HR position?
Yes, good morning. We are requesting through the same, well, with the auditor's office, we have a senior HR rep position that we are requesting. It is really to strengthen our HR team and ensure long-term department stability. Some of our key HR staff members, one in particular, is nearing retirement eligibility in the next few years. This particular individual supports our HRIS system or Workday, works very closely with payroll in that function. And it does create, without having proper succession planning in place with this particular individual, we definitely have it creates a single point of failure that threatens the operations and again, succession planning. There are also multiple different modules of the Workday system that we are not in a position to implement at this time that is part of the package we pay for. So having a second person to work with this particular individual, as well as be able to push those types of modules forward, which would benefit the entire county. I believe, without this position, we would risk failing behind in compliance, efficiency, and service quality within the HR department.
Thank you, Laura. So as I mentioned, our requests affect critical needs across the county, different county departments. We're also asking for a position that would be responsible for coordinating grants for those departments and offices that don't have their own resources to do this. This position would improve the county's ability to comply with grant requirements. And in addition, we're confident this position would identify grants that we would otherwise not know about. As the grant coordinator program develops, we believe that 100% of the cost of that position would be recovered from sources outside of the general fund. Michelle Schuster, who's joined me now, the county's internal services director, is here today to share her views on the need for a grants coordinator position.
And yes, I support Greg in this position. We have an opportunity to go out for a lot of grants. There's a lot of opportunities coming up for things with the Clean Building Act, with different condition improvements on buildings. But we unfortunately in general services and internal services to take advantage of this don't really have the expertise and the bandwidth and the know-how to do grant stuff properly. And so we spend a lot of time trying to learn how to do it to submit for these grants, or just don't have the time to submit for some of them. Currently on my desk are 4 grant applications that I'm working on that have come up just in the last couple weeks for over $4 million towards upgrading our solar on our buildings that'll meet the Clean Building Initiative for the state. And so there is a lot of money out there to take advantage of. We just don't have the time to get to a lot of it. And so I think having this position that would help support all these general fund departments that don't have that expertise on staff would be very beneficial. There are some grant people in the county now in certain departments that are working on specific things, like Department of Community Services has grant expertise, but it's not a shared resource that people can take advantage of countywide. And I think this position would really help provide that for all the departments that don't have grant expertise.
Thank you, Michelle. And continuing on the theme of the fact that our request is addressing critical needs across the county, I'm also now going to speak about the fact that 3 months from now, Workday is terminating what we call the vendor portal, functionality that county vendors use to get paid for products and services. In its place, Workday is offering a module, strategic sourcing, that not only would be used by vendors to get paid, but would also be used by county staff to procure products and services and to manage contracts. If a replacement for the Workday vendor portal is not approved, in order to be able to continue to provide the good service to our vendors that they're accustomed to, in the financial services department, we would want to hire one additional person in our accounts payable group at a cost of about $70,000 a year if we're not able to continue to use the technology that Workday offers. I'm told that currently, if a department or office wants to issue a request for proposal, it will be about 6 months before that could happen. In addition, the county has improved its contract management processes, but has not yet purchased contract management software. The strategic sourcing module solves both of these issues. Purchase of the strategic sourcing module would be funded in part by the $60,000 annual expense that is currently in the budget for purchase of new contract management software. If the strategic sourcing module was purchased, the $30,000 that is currently paid for the Bonfire software would also be eliminated. Bonfire software is used by some departments to manage contracts. And I think Ryan Treglon from Administrative Services has some comments regarding the contract management piece of this as well.
Good morning. Again, my name is Ryan Treglon. I'm the Administrative Services Manager with Community Services. So I oversee all the contracts and finance functions within the department. And I'm here today to lend my support to the strategic sourcing proposal. We currently use Bonfire for our contracts management within the department. We're fully behind the idea of being able to centralize that across the county. I think it's in the best interest of the county to be able to have a system that we're able to gain better reporting that we just don't have now. For example, I was trying to find yesterday for this meeting some statistics on the percentage of contracts that the community services does in relation to the entire county. And that's a really hard thing to get. It seems like an easy question, but it's hard to answer. And that's because we don't have a centralized system to be able to manage all these things. So I'm really excited about the opportunity for the increased reporting and access to it. We happen to be a heavily audited department. So, we really like the idea of being able to connect information related to an RFP, how that's connected to a contract, right down to the supplier invoice. And that makes it easy for us during the times that we're audited, so we can show the auditor and they can see those associations directly in Workday.
Thank you, Ryan. And then, as I mentioned, Michelle Schuster's contract management team has been in the process of searching for contract management software. And I think Michelle has a comment regarding the strategic sourcing modules contract management functionality.
Yeah, and we did purchase Bonfire also a couple of years ago for our centralized contract management system. We've been slowly transitioning contracts to that, but it doesn't do all the procurement functions we want. We did do a search with IT to find the best product that we could integrate with departments. Like Ryan said, we're already using it, and so are a few other areas. And so it's been working, but it doesn't do all the functionality we need. And we're still doing a lot of redundant entry back into Workday for the contracts that Workday currently can take. But with this new functionality, we can then put all of our contracts in Workday and not have two databases, which will be very good, and it can bill through it, track revenue contracts, expense contracts, because currently Workday is really good with the expense contracts, but not the other types such as MOUs, interlocals, revenue-based contracts. And this product will allow that. The other thing, as Greg mentioned, is we do a lot of manual hand procurement functions, and our procurement department has been looking for a couple years for a product. They've evaluated quite a few of them, and none of them really can do what they needed to do. But they reviewed this product, and this product does appear to do what we're looking for with RFPs, bids, small works, quotations. And so we are really interested in this from both procurement and the contract standpoint for our department.
I see Mike Sprinkler, IT director, in back, and I'm sure Mike is thinking right now, man, I do not need another system to manage. No more integrations. And the Workday Strategic Solutions product, one of the great advantages of that is continuing to have a single product addressing the needs across the county. Investing in technology is the way the county is going to best address the ongoing financial challenges. So in summary, the auditors, let me say this again, the auditor's office is bringing in $1 million of new money beginning in 2026, ongoing into the future, forever, in perpetuity. Over time, the ongoing increased cost to the general fund of all of our requests that are before you is expected to be less than $160,000 due to the indirect cost recovery plan. These investments address critical issues affecting departments and offices across the county and assist us to continue to limit the growth of FTE positions. Thank you for your time and attention this morning. I hope you will support our requests, and Laura and I are happy to respond to any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions? Yes, Councilor Belcott.
Good morning. I think it was mentioned, but I'm just double checking because I was making notes as you were talking, Auditor Kimsey. The senior HR specialist, is that position, that would be a brand new FTE or in addition to, because I thought initially was mentioned the payroll finance position and the HR position were replacing someone, or would they be brand new created FTEs?
They're both new positions. That's the answer.
Yes, they're both new positions. So again, within the HR department, it would be for succession planning to make sure that we don't have that single point of failure, but also with the different complexities and compliance within HR, it also just builds the team to be able to provide countywide support ongoing.
Ditto
Okay,
that for the AP.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Young, do you have a question?
Yeah, I've got two of them actually. One is I wanted to expand a little bit further on that question that Councilor Belcott just made. So, I mean, if it's succession to make sure that there's overlap in transition, I'm kind of not understand. It sounds to me like you're wanting to make the additional FTE permanent, so it's not bringing a replacement and it's bringing an additional body. And then when the person eventually retires, that position also is going to be refilled. Is that accurate?
Yes, that would be correct.
But for AP, we just see the environment getting, it has become and will continue to become so increasingly complex that we need more resources in that AP area. Not just the quantity of work, but again, the complexity of the work. And so we firmly believe we need an additional staff position in our accounts payable area.
And that's what with the HR position, we're similarly situated where, really the department's workload is increased during organizational or due to organizational growth, compliance demands, workforce expansion, and really stretching our current capacity to be able to provide support. So this role, the primary function would be for the succession planning of the HRIS, learning the system, understanding it. The current individual in that role has been with the county for well over 32 years. And again, he is a sole source of information. So we would be able to not only tap into his knowledge prior to his retirement, but also be able to support in other areas of the HR spectrum with the right candidate in place.
Okay. Thank you. And then my next question was, with the software, it kills me to pay. I mean, if I'm understanding this correctly, $200,000 a year for software. I mean, is there not a way that the county can have custom built software that we could use that we don't have to pay year after year after year?
Well, Counselor Young, I'll speak on behalf of Mike Sprinkle, but I'll speak on behalf of really, I think, the entire county. The advantage of having an integrated, quote, off-the-shelf piece of software is, for me, I guess, difficult to explain, but I certainly understand its advantages. You know, when I first came here to the county, we had systems all throughout the county, and we still have systems all throughout the county. But if the counties can bring more and more of its work through one, yeah, there's Mike. Thanks, Mike. Rather than me fumble through, I'm going to let Mike talk about that. I know he feels really strongly about it.
Mike, thanks for coming forward.
Yes, it looked like Greg might want some assistance.
I always want assistance.
So the answer to your question, Counselor Young, is that it's a kind of a double-edged sword. The short answer is yes, we could build something ourselves. However, one of the things that a company like Workday brings to the table is a vast team with a vast knowledge of the space, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, because that's basically what we would be doing by building a Workday tool for ourselves. Although I would say we can do it, it means we have to have the staffing to make sure that we understand all the rules and regulations around everything that Workday does. And, you know, typically a company the size of Workday, they've got lots of extra resources who do nothing but make sure that they understand how these processes work, the rules and laws all around the country, and we get to take advantage of that knowledge through the cost. You know, the cost to us to build it ourselves would be extremely significant, and we would have additional headcount that would cost us more than the 200 grand that you're referencing each year.
Okay, thank you for that. And, you know, perhaps we can, not during the budget session, but we can have a little bit more conversation about that, you know, and just kind of look at all of the different software that we're subscribing to, because it just, like, I get it. But I mean, 200,000 a year, that is, you know, and then the other thing about these software programs is you kind of get trapped in them. You know, you get all of your data into them, and then it's so hard to make a transition if the company later on jacks their rates up, or, you know, doesn't really innovate to where there's other software programs out there that do a better job, but you're kind of stuck because you got all of your stuff in it. I mean, I just know on a personal level how that works. I can only imagine how much of an escalated problem it can be for a county with massive amounts of information in there. But that's a conversation for a different day.
And I would add on to that I'm happy as the IT department to have conversations about the strategic direction of our software applications. We should always be looking at really two things. One, where can we consolidate things that are overlapping or duplicative? But we should also be looking at our vendor and those partnerships to say, is this really cost effective any longer? Yes, it's inconvenient to move to a new software platform, but if those costs are going up, then we should always be looking for what we can do in the future with a different tool.
Okay, Councillor Fuentes.
Just a quick comment. Workday is an excellent piece of software. I've used it for many, many years. And working for Wells Fargo many years ago, an organization of 300,000 people chose that software for a reason, because it is more cost effective. So it makes sense to me. Just a really quick question, Laura. And I imagine that the answer is yes, but the budget proposed for each of these positions includes total compensation, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, back to you, Councillor Belcott.
Just quick question. I thought for some reason it had been a year or maybe more that we had selected a procurement software system.
Well, Michelle's rapidly moving here to the front, I'm sure. My understanding is that, yes, the county has approved a budget for the purchase of contract management software, but that purchase has not yet been completed, and that this Workday module, strategic sourcing software module, would replace, would satisfy, would meet the needs of the reason why that purchase was approved, that budget was approved a couple years ago.
Yes,
'cause
sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
So the budget was approved a couple of years ago. It's $15,000 for the initial implementation and $15,000 ongoing to get a procurement system that would do the RFPs and the bids. Unfortunately, they have been looking at different products, and Bonfire they were hoping would work, and City of Vancouver was using Bonfire for that, and so they did some reviews with that, and the city isn't been happy with it, and the problems they're having would be the same problems we would have with the system. So we have been reviewing different ones, but have not found a solution that would work, and this solution will work for our purchasing department should we go with it. And so at this point, we're sort of in a holding pattern because we don't want to purchase something that maybe will partially work and then this does pass. So we've been holding this year to see how this would work out. But we have been reviewing different products, just have not found something yet.
Is the expectation to put county leases in there as well? Because that's been an issue and council has asked about
Yes.
the status of leases or contracts.
Yeah, that would be in the contracting component of this request, and it would take all of our leases into that, because currently leases do not go into Workday very well, but this new module they're making will accept leases into it.
Okay, so if the county goes forward and purchases this, what would be the expectation to have all the county contracts and leases? Like, how would all that loading data, how long would that take probably?
Boy, I don't know. I would say probably 6 months to a year to get all the data in there. There will be some stuff that can be automated on sort of Excel sheets that can be transferred into Workday, and so we can get some of the main components of it, but there'll be a lot of hand touching to get the finer detail in there. And I know some of this component can actually read the contracts once we get them in there and pull some components into fields, so that'll help also. But there definitely will be some time to get in, but I mean, we've had the Bonfire for a little over a year and a half now, and we still haven't made a big breakthrough of getting a lot of our existing contracts into that system because it takes a lot of time. So we've been putting everything new in, but the old stuff is taking time to get in that system. So.
Okay, thank you. And just a comment, these companies, they always get you in the annual license fees. That's what that is. And that's actually not too bad as far as what I've been used to in the past. So thank you.
Any other questions? Do you have more? Okay, thank you very much. And your team,
Thank you.
teamwork, a great model of interdepartmental collaboration.
Yeah, and I just, we're out of order just a little bit here, just for this one. It was on the wrong slide, so we'll do this one quickly, but just want to, it's great discussion. You guys have great questions. Just want to be mindful on time a little bit. We have 13 more to come before you. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But Michelle will go ahead and briefly talk about this one.
And I'll be fast with this one. So today we're coming forward because the Arts Commission has asked for 3 different budget packages for 2026. The Arts Commission was formed in 2010 through a resolution unanimously voted on by the Clark County councilors at that time. And the Arts Commission works to foster awareness of the arts, expands accessibility to arts in public places, and supports the collaboration among their arts patrons, artists, the business community, and cultural organizations. The packages that they're requesting are for their annual festival and event expenses, their poet laureate and Anston Gallery curator items, And the Anson Gallery is just this wall directly out here that they put the art monthly on. And then their Lifetime Achievement Award event. And so total, the 3 events that they're asking for next year for funding will come to $7,208. And then everything else for those events, they get donated or the Arts Commission members purchase them. So they asked for these same 3 this year in 2025, and they were approved for them. And so they're just coming back next year to ask for it with a little bit of price increases because products have gone up, they've realized.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Emily Swetzig from the Budget Office. I'll make mine very, very brief. The Budget Office is facing similar challenges to many of the other internal departments where we have maintained a consistent level of staffing with no growth for the last 8 years. We have 5 FTE currently, and our request for consideration is 1 additional FTE just to help with the volume and the complexity of the financial work that we do. We're also asking for consideration for an ongoing subscription. Our office manages the Questica budget software within our 5 FTE. And currently to date, we've been using any budgetary savings we have within our budget to pay for any service issues or reporting changes that we want to make to the system that go above and beyond our contract. Questica does offer this annual subscription plan where we get additional consultation, we get additional hours with their programmers if we want to make updates to budget reports and different types of training and support on the new modules. So those are our 2 requests. Appreciate your consideration. Happy to answer questions at a later time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Clerk's Office.
Hello.
Good morning, Council, Chair Marshall, and County Manager. I'm Scott Weber, the County Clerk, and I'm here with my Chief Deputy, Charlene Huffman. I'm here to present the critical needs and the items that I've requested in the 2026 budget, which in addition of a full-time court assistant 3 position to our staff, this position would accommodate the addition the 12th Superior Court judge approved by Council in 2024. RCW 2.32.050 and RCW 36.23.030 outlined the duties and responsibilities of the clerk, and one of those mandated duties is that the deputy clerk is required to attend all court proceedings, to represent the public, and to take accurate and complete minutes, administer oaths, manage exhibits, and accurately maintain jury panels and process court documents. For a little background, in 2019, the county approved the addition of the 11th judge. At that time, the clerk requested 2 positions, an in-court clerk and a clerk assigned to back office work generated by the addition of the judicial office, resulting in an increase in court proceedings. The additional back office work includes preparation of dockets, entry, resulting from an increase in dockets and hearing. The clerk was granted 1 FTE, the in-court clerk position. In 2024, the council approved the 12th judge in the 2025 budget. Superior Court requested a judicial assistant for the 12th judge, and council did approve the judicial assistant position for that 12th judge in the 2025 budget. For the 2025 budget, the clerk requested an additional 2 staff employees, 1 in-court clerk and 1 court assistant for the additional back office duties that would be generated by the Superior Court addition of the 12th judge. The clerk was denied the addition of staff to accommodate the 12th judge, no one to cover the additional hearings generated by the 12th judge, nor the additional workload generated by the 12th judge, in addition to the 11th judge approved in 2019. Superior Court currently has 12 judges and 3.7 commissioners, which is basically 16 judicial officers. Superior Court holds approximately 70 dockets per week. In addition to regular dockets, there's special sets and trials. For each of these proceedings, the clerk must have a deputy clerk present in the courtroom to perform mandated tasks. We have a clerk staff of 16 in-court clerks present for all the hearings. Many of the Superior Court dockets are overbooked, and our in-courtroom clerks miss breaks and work into the lunch period. You might think that a staff of 16 clerks for 16 judicial officers is sufficient. It's not. Due to the chronic understaffing in the clerk's office, not only due to the in-court clerks having to be present in court, we have the process of their minutes, in-court records, and other court orders resulting from those hearings. Our situation is unabstainable. Due to our inefficient staffing, we do not have enough in-court clerks to cover illnesses, vacations, and often breaks. And in those instances, we are overbooked. Dockets go long beyond the scheduled times, and we must pull from other resources to cover the scheduled hearings for which the clerk was assigned to later that day. We must consistently pull from other resources to cover court proceedings, often requiring the clerk, our leads and accountants, and others to clerk hearings to meet our mandated tasks of being present in the court proceedings. This causes a ripple effect and impacts our ability to meet our mandated duties performed by our in-office staff. For this reason, I set forth my request for one FTE Court Assistant 3 position is critical and should be approved by council.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? I know you've, go ahead, Councilor Young.
Yes, so I was just wondering if you know off the top of your head, when we approved the 12th judge, I know there's a bunch of stuff that happens, you know, that needs to happen in addition outside of the court, but how many hours is somebody in that courtroom? Like on a given week? Do you know? If you don't know that off the top of your head, that's okay. I'm just kind of wondering that. Maybe you could get us that answer later.
We could work on that later. It often depends on whether they are assigned to criminal dockets, whether they are assigned to trials, whether they are assigned to a support docket. It depends. But as stated, not only do they have the in-court session they have to be present for, there are all of the pre-hearing and post-hearing prep that have to be done as well. I don't think I can give you an answer. It all depends on what someone is assigned to.
Okay. All right. If you could give some, and I don't expect you to tear across all the books to figure it out, but if you could maybe look into it and just give me a kind of an estimate, I would be curious about that.
I'll try to get that to council.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you, Scott. You've been very clear about your needs over the years, and we seem to just add judges without recognizing your needs. So
Thank you very much. Thank you.
you.
Okay, the next one is community development.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I guess I'm new to this. Good morning, Maya Bunch for Community Development. I'm the interim director. So before you today, we have 3 requests, all related to our permitting software in community development at the county for CCLMS. So just a little background, while Washington state does not mandate the use of permitting softwares for cities and counties under the revised Code of Washington and the Washington Administrative Code, the state does require jurisdictions establish and implement time periods for processing projects and ensuring timely and predictable procedures. And CCLMS is crucial to fulfilling that requirement. Also, RCW 43 establishes that one fund cannot benefit the other. And in this case, and in all 3 cases, a portion of the costs aggregated in Fund 1011 are being allocated to the general fund cost centers, which utilize the permitting system. So the first one is for the first request is for the Computronics hosting, support, and maintenance agreement, the contractual increases. Computronics is the vendor for CCLMS permitting system. In 2021, 2 contracts were approved for hosting and annual support and maintenance services. Each contract was for 5 years, 2021 to 2026, with programmed contractual cost increases each year. No evidence has been found that the annual increases were properly budgeted for, and they were most likely absorbed by baseline budget. So in an effort to rectify this, additional expenditure budget authority for these contractual increases is being requested here. The second one is also related to CCLMS for our continuous improvement and configuration service agreement. Each year, the department has requested additional budget authority for urgent enhancements, customizations, and support not included in the annual hosting agreement. So that's that second line item there. Okay, and then our third request is for POSSE 8 upgrade, again connected to our permitting system. This upgrade is scheduled. This is a scheduled software update to the POSSE 8 platform from an earlier version. The annual support agreement for CCLMS was approved by council in 2021 for a 5-year term, and that requires that the county upgrade to the most current release of the POSSE platform to receive future software updates and patches. So this software update we're required to deploy by June 2026. And just as a side note, we have explored an alternative to CCLMS, mybuildingpermit.com, with council approving that capital budget request in 2024. However, that's currently on hold as we're awaiting other county and city jurisdictions funding sources. That's it for me. Do you guys have any questions? I also have my finance manager online if needed.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions? Oh,
Yeah,
there's
sure.
one.
Just
Yes,
real
please.
quick. Oh, okay. I was curious. So these are just like, you know, and this kind of further in the same conversation we were having earlier with these subscriptions, is these are just like in addition to the annual contract that we pay every year.
Correct.
Okay, and it's
These
kind
are
of like
the-
if we don't pay for these upgrades, then the system doesn't work properly anymore.
It looks like the first one, Counselor Young, is just an increase to a current contract.
Okay,
Yes,
but the larger ones down there,
correct. That POSSE
essentially.
8 upgrade is a significant upgrade for us, and we have to deploy it or it will not work.
And it's in addition to the annual fee that we pay for the subscription.
Correct. It's in addition to we have the 2 contracts already with them.
Yeah.
And so the POSSE 8 upgrade is in addition.
And I understand that may be industry standard, but it's very frustrating. You know, you're paying the annual service. It should include the upgrades and the updates. It's just frustrating. That's not your fault though.
Councilor Belcock.
I'll just make a comment on that because I've processed lots of software. It's part of it. It's like the upgrade and support on an annual basis. It's one of the options of the software contract. So this is how they make the moolah.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Thank you, Maya.
Thank you.
All right, District Court.
Welcome.
Good morning, counselors. This on? Okay, there we go. First, I'd also like to start off by just thanking the county manager and the budget office for all the collaboration and discussions we've had about our budget and critical needs. And then also, just as the auditor did, I wanted to just note as we go through this, I know our requests are a little bit larger than others. I wanted to just identify the great collaboration between the auditor's office and district court this year in coming up with bringing in an additional $3.7 million in cost recovery revenue based on the district court services contract. I wanted to start off by just saying that I want to go through kind of our data points first that directly relate to the reasons we're asking for these critical needs. District Court has seen significant growth over the last 2 to 3 years. And I want to just mention we don't count 2020 and 2021 just because during COVID times everything was just off. So in District Court right now, what we're facing is significant increases in case filings. Our overall case filings from 22 to 23, or I'm sorry, 23 to 24 was 16%. And we're seeing even further growth of 20% increasing overall case filings between 24 and 25. Most notably, our misdemeanor case filings this year will be at an all-time high. Historically in District Court, it was a 22% increase from 23 to 24 and a 19% increase between 24 and this year. We expect to have 10,000 over 10,000 misdemeanor case filings coming into our system this year, which is significant. Moving on to civil case filings, which is the other driving factor for our critical needs. We've seen a 36% increase in civil case filings from 23 to 24, and we're expecting an 18% increase from 24 to 25. Probation is another area where we're seeing significant increases. Every misdemeanor case filing touches many different parts of our system. One of those areas is pretrial and probation. Probation case filings or probation cases have increased from 23 to 24 by 12%, and we're seeing a 21% increase from 24 to 25. And I will note that these increases, we have not received any general fund FTE in over 10 years to manage these increases. And then finally, interpreter services requests have significantly increased. We had a 29% increase in the request and need for interpreters from 22 to 23. From 23 to 24, we had a 105% increase in the request for interpreters. We're looking at about a 1% increase this year, but with the overall projection of new case filings for 2026, we're potentially looking at a 44% increase in the need for interpreters in 2026. I will say and just note that we have tried to deal with this growth by integrating technology to make our processes more efficiently and have been able to maintain interpreter services by only having one FTE assigned to that program. So we have one person that's managing upwards to 10,000 interpreter requests throughout the year. And that is due to the implementation of a database that we kind of ran across as we were at a conference and implemented 2 years ago. And kind of just going through our list of needs, I wanted to first point out and kind of maybe chunk it out into priorities for us. As decisions are made, we have multiple technology requests that we're asking for this year. These technology requests are really one-time requests for 2026 because many of them will go away in 2027 as the state implements a free and new case management system. We're scheduled to launch June of 2027. So for our on-base document management system, everything we do is in on-base right now. If we were to not have this system, we would have to go back to paper files, which would also increase the need for staff to manage those. We have pretrial case management system as well that we use. We do everything in that system. We've implemented that for efficiencies. It automates our risk management system, our risk assessment tool, and also provides efficiencies for managing caseloads. Our pretrial managers have 200 plus clients each, and it allows us to communicate with them effectively, track data, and provide case management services that we would not be able to do manually. We also have requests in technology-wise. It's a new request. As of January 1st, RCW requires that all courts of limited jurisdiction, well, I shouldn't say limited jurisdiction, all courts across the state are required to offer an electronic filing system for civil protection orders, decreasing the need for victims to have to come in person and file these documents. We have come up with a solution, and through the fall supplemental, we're recommended to implement this year, but we need one more year of funding in 2026. Again, this system, we only need through June of 2027 until our new case management and e-filing system comes into play. Going through other critical needs, starting at the top, our electronic monitoring programs. These programs are utilized to basically, judges order these in lieu of being in custody. We have systems in place, most notably our electronic monitoring victim notification program, which allows for us to monitor whether or not somebody is in the proximity of a domestic violence victim. That is actually the largest portion and cost to our electronic monitoring program. Current baseline funding gets us through. We use the funding only for our indigent population. So this funding is only utilized for folks that are unable to afford it and end up released from custody. So we also use electronic monitoring for our DUI clients who have mandatory minimum sentencing. So they actually can be out of custody on some type of electronic monitoring and alcohol monitoring system that allows them to keep their job, that allows them to, care for their family, pay their bills, do all those things. But also just note that these electronic monitoring programs, for many of these folks, they would actually have to be in custody for mandatory minimums. So we have to decide between, do we pay the $15 to $20 a day for electronic monitoring, or do we pay the $200 and some a day for jail costs? So we are asking for funding to be able to continue our electronic monitoring programs and not have to shut them down halfway through the year of 2026. We're also asking for some additional FTEs as probation caseloads continue to rise. Our current caseload is 1 officer to about 85 high-risk clients. Evidence-based practices are 1 to 50 high-risk clients. So we are asking for case managers. We are asking for a lead case manager to help support the additional staff members. In our interpreter services program, I want to point out that the interpreter services program is constitutionally mandated. It's also mandated by the state that we offer those services. With the growth of our interpreter services programs, we also have a mandate to manage what they call a language access plan. With the growth, we need FTE to help manage that. There are a lot of requirements that we have in order to receive additional funding from the state. We receive about $275,000 a year from the state for interpreter services. We do risk losing that if we're not able to manage that language access plan effectively and manage the staff associated with the program. In terms of staff interpreters, we have asked for 2 FTE. What our goal is that there'll be contract savings if we have staff interpreters on hand. So what we anticipate would be a wash. We still have to account for the full cost of the position in the budget. Our district court civil court assistant 2 position with 20 to 30% increases in civil case filings over the last few years. We are maxed out. We don't have any other staff that we can move from another department or another unit to help out with case filings and processing of case filings. So we're at a critical point where we need an additional FTE to manage the civil case filing caseload. This year, District Court Probation Services ended up absorbing the workload of verifying whether or not folks qualify for court-appointed counsel, which is also a constitutional mandate. It's also required by Washington state law. We've absorbed this caseload the best we can. This is a shared service. We go into the jail and we interview folks to determine their eligibility for court-appointed counsel for both district and superior court. We're not fully able to meet with everybody on the superior court level and have had to prioritize only DV cases. with the funding for these two positions, we would be able to actually meet the needs of both of the courts and adequately determine whether or not somebody qualifies for court-appointed counsel.
So I'm just going to interrupt you for a moment.
That's fine.
Was that was that verification done by someone else, and now it's on you all to do that? And who did it before, if that was the case?
That's a great question. There was a time that district court did have that workload. That was long before COVID and before, I think it was like the first year I was here, we had it for a while. That workload was moved to the Public Defense Office, the new Office of Public Defense. It was ultimately determined that workload could not be there ethically, and somebody had to take it on. So we kind of fell on that sword because it's a very important and valuable piece. If we're not evaluating whether somebody qualifies, typically everybody's just approved, which creates another budget impact. And also in terms of interpreter services, we've asked for increase of baseline funding just for that program to make sure we can pay for all the interpreters. If we run out of interpreters, which we potentially could without this funding next year, there are a lot of impacts in terms of delaying cases, not being able to actually bring a case all the way to adjudication, violation of civil rights, all of those types of things. Community restitution supplies. This has been a budget item for us that we've been approved for year over year for our community restitution program. We have to have a repair and replacement schedule for all of the lawnmowers and weed eaters and all of those types of pieces of equipment that we utilize when we're out cleaning up the parks and cleaning up litter. So we are asking again for an additional year of funding for our repair and replacement costs so that we can maintain those programs. And the final thing that we are asking as a critical need is just is really being able to provide certification and training for our risk assessment tools with our probation and pretrial staff. Having certified staff just increases our credibility in court, increases the use of those tools that we provide to the judge to make determinations on bail or release. But that is our final request.
Okay. A lot of information there. Thank you. Are there questions from the council?
Chair.
Councilor Young.
I'm trying to understand, you got two different line items there, both with interpreters. I'm trying to understand the difference, and the two combined are over 700,000. So I mean, what is happening now or not happening now that's over 700,000 is needed to cover?
So we're asking for FTE in one of the change requests. We're asking for baseline contract money, an increase in our contract money for the other. So in terms of 0626-80, the first line item that you see there for managers and staff interpreters, we do have to account for the full cost of the position, but we believe we'll save contract expenses. So it's not going to actually cost $700,000. So if we hire two staff interpreters through that change request, it will lessen the need for contract money. We'll have people on staff that can go into court. We pay them the pay scale that we have for the county. So we actually consider that a wash. So in that change request, the actual cost will only be probably $127,000, which is the cost of the program manager position.
Okay. And then just out of curiosity, I know it's constitutionally mandated, but is there AI that can be used? I mean, is that something that would have to go through the state legislature, or, there's amazing services out there that are extremely accurate in terms of interpreting language?
And that's a great question. AI is something that's very controversial to the court system right now. It's not something that's been vetted or approved for many of the things that we do. So AI is not typically approved for these processes, which is why we haven't gone that route.
Approved by like at the state level?
The state
You're
level,
referring
the
to?
Supreme Court.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
It
is
might
this,
take some time for something like that to develop. All right,
yeah,
thank you.
the hope is that that will be something that will be approved in the future. But these discussions about AI in the court system are ongoing, and we're hoping to have some kind of guidance on that in the near future.
Okay, other questions? I'd agree with your caution related to AI. And I did have a question about the electronic monitoring. I know you've been successful in receiving grants. Would this funding, are those grants ongoing? And would this request be in addition to the grants, or this replaces the grants?
So this would replace the grants because of the state budget. That grant funding for this went away.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, on to information services.
Good morning, Council. Mike Sprinkle, IT Director. Before you here, you can see we have 4 packages. I'm going to break these into 2 groups. One is extensions of existing project positions, and one is a net new project position. So the first thing I'd like to point out on the new project position is the ITS 06. I'd like to actually remove that from consideration. We've found another way to handle the need that we originally thought that we were going to have there. So that position is not necessary for your consideration. So good news on that front. For the other 2, we have 2 extensions of positions. That's 09 and 010 in the list. Those are existing 2-year project positions. We're looking to extend those an additional 2 years. It's about maintaining the IT service levels that we provide to county employees and county departments today. One of those positions will works on supporting Workday. So if that position were to go away, we would have approximately a half of our staffing would be reduced for supporting Workday. We right now have 2.5 FTE supporting Workday. One of those FTE is this position. The second part is a staff member who is supporting. They came in as support for Office 365. And really what that ended up doing was taking an existing team member who could support Office 365. The project position picked up the work that that person was doing on our records management software platforms. So in this case, we'd have, if that position isn't extended, we'll have a half of the team will be reduced. And so there's a bit of a domino effect with not extending these, which is other staff members will pick up that work, which they can do, but that means the things that they're working on either become delayed or just take way longer. So we can get the work done, but people have an expectation of the level of delivery that we provide today. The other position that's up there is ITS 08. That's a net new position also. That's a collaboration between IT and Superior Court. Superior Court and I met earlier this year, and they said, we used to have a position called a DISC position. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. That's a Department Information Services Coordinator. It's basically a technology support person who sits in the department. That position a couple years ago was reclassed into a higher level role. I believe that Superior Court felt that between IT and their staffing that we could continue to support technology at the same level. As it's turned out, that's not the case. So we decided that we'd put forth this package to bring in someone temporarily to continue to help support them more directly. So this is be a dedicated headcount in IT that would sit in Superior Court to help them support their technologies. And that's my spiel for today.
Okay, are there any questions? I think you've covered it all.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jail services.
Good morning, Chair and Council. Appreciate the opportunity to come and speak about some of these additional needs our department's looking at. So you have three items in front of you. The first one is -17-26AD, which is a updating of a bathroom down in our jail industry space. So this space is 25 years old, and historically it had a smaller number of support staff that would actually use it when we had inmates actually down there providing services for us. Over the last 6 or 7 years, without the inmate population helping with kitchen and laundry and such, we've had to double the staff down there 7 days a week using this single stall bathroom. It needs some updates, needs to be remodeled a little bit and just really kind of freshened up. It's well used. So anyways, that's our first request. It's mostly cosmetic, and this is a critical service for those staff members who use that space every day. So anyways, that's our first request there. Our second request is architectural design support for an indoor range and training center for the Department of Jail Services. The department is asking for budget to help design an indoor range and training center with mock jail areas for the Department of Jail Services. For the past 3 years, the Department of Jail Services has managed the English Pit Public Services part of the range out on 192nd. In the last year, we've been advised the city of Vancouver is going to be putting a street Northeast 9th right through it. There's currently development right on the other side of our berm where we shoot, as well as to the west of it. And so their development is quickly approaching. This is really pushed, and I know the sheriff and other law enforcement agencies are talking about regional training centers and things like that somewhere around the county, to include Larch Mountain, which is somewhere between 40 and 60 minutes away from downtown here where our staff generally work. We work across the street in the main jail and the jail work center. Those are the two spaces. And oftentimes we unplug staff to go get training down at the work center or provide it in our jail itself. But shooting guns, which we went from 40 to 80 in the last 3 years, officers who carry guns, to another goal of 30 to 50 in the next couple of years. We're talking about our renovation project, which adds another 103 officers. So by the time we're done with all those officers, the jail will be probably the third largest or even the second largest employer of public safety officers carrying guns and needing that training. So again, as we continue to look at that, in my previous life at a different agency, I helped to develop and design a training center. And so I did some initial research and aspects of those ranges. And so initially for about $3 to $5 million, we can put in some indoor ranges, which again has some positives to that, but it needs a structure that goes around it. Down at the Jail Work Center, we have a space set aside for future development. This is our first priority space that we'd like to look at, and maybe adding this location and development, which would also be convenient to our new housing spaces and other locations, and really where we do our operations. Again, there's a lot of similarities to police and corrections and the skills and things necessary for them to do their jobs, but law enforcement requires driving and other outdoors and mock cities and things like that. That's not necessarily for us and what we do. And so again, as we continue to grow our department and the jail system here in Clark County, we're going to have a need to be able to efficiently provide this type of training to our staff. And again, driving 30 to 50 minutes away is just not an effective way for us as a department to do that. And again, just we're trying to define, we already know there's lack of these spaces in our community. And we would be fighting with law enforcement already to try to get more space in there. Again, I know there's conversations happening around us. We're not included in those generally, and it's not on purpose. It's just they're having them and we're not in them. So anyways, looking for an opportunity to develop something. This space would also be used for the sheriff as necessary if he needed to have a secondary space at some point. And again, I know they're looking for a regional space. Is that in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now? Not sure. Looking for what we can do to support our teams in Clark County today. And then the third thing is an electronic key box. The department just took over the former probation and CBC space down in the basement of the law enforcement center. We have currently about 20 employees and other contractors that are down there. And we have another 10 to 16 employees that will be moving down there at some time in 2026. And these key boxes are a way of managing key access and making sure that the right people have access to our jail and facility. And this is just adding to that existing system that we already utilize. And again, lessening the impact of where you actually come to check in. So anyways, this really is just growing our existing system and needing this extra space for those keys.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I would just say if you were looking at Camp Bonneville, you would definitely be included in those discussions. And when is that road going through English Pit? When will that no longer be available as best you might know?
Last year, we were told within 5 years.
Oh, within 5 years.
But like I said, they're on the other side of the berm currently, so not quite sure of their timelines, but that was what we were advised.
What might the timeline be if to build a space? I mean, it's good that you have a space as an option.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, it's all about how quickly and fast you can pull together the information, RFPs, find a general contractor, put that together, and that estimate might be 3 to 4 years.
Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead, Councilor Young.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I mean, so currently all of the training's being done at the English Pit.
That is correct.
Okay. You know, and your comment on not being in some of those conversations, that needs to happen, because there are more needs than just the jail that we're going to be addressing likely in the very near future. So yeah, I mean, it feels, and I could be wrong because we aren't privy to every discussion, obviously, but it seems like this almost kind of happened in a silo without input from, you know, with all of the different needs for shooting range. So how much, I mean, this is just for architectural design. How much do you anticipate it would cost to build?
You know, the large training center I was at before was somewhere between $22 and $23 million. I'm not suggesting that's what this is. The range itself is this 3 to 5 million, and depending on if it's 1 lane, 3 lanes, 5 lanes, 2 different ranges where you can do different training. Oftentimes in these centers or training centers, you need support classrooms where you provide training and then you go do it. The opportunity to do that. So do I have an estimate? I don't currently. I would not suggest more than $8 to $12 million, but I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like in a plan until you actually have somebody look at it. To have this study done, to be able to say, again, how do we develop it for the needs of today, but also the future of jail services or other Clark County sheriff and others, and what does that look like? So I'm not quite sure, Counselor.
Okay, and then I was kind of wondering, you know, how does this play out with the full jail build out? I mean, is this, I'm kind of surprised actually that this wasn't something that was considered as that, you know, but it's not. This is totally separate from the build out of the jail.
Yes, that's correct. The remodeling renovation project is extensive, and to place a training center as a part of this downtown footprint did not seem like the priority of what was going on, but to have a jail work center where there's some spaces to do other things. Historically in law enforcement or in correctional settings, it's, hey, let's throw some mats on the ground. Hey, here's an open space for a few days or a minute. Let's take care of training as it's happening. A dedicated space would allow for more professional opportunity to have the right training tools and and efforts for public safety officers in our county and community.
Okay, and then do you off the top of your head, do you know how much the county pays for the services for jail services to be able to do their training at the English pit?
Yes, since we manage it, I believe we aren't actually paying. There's a conversation right now because we took it over from Public Works, or at least the management of it is power and some of those other things, but those are things that aren't necessarily happening today. I think Public Works is asking or wanting us to take those utility conversations over from them, but it's not something currently today. The cost there, in talking with Michelle Schuster, there's an 8 to 10% estimate for architectural design numbers, and this would potentially be costs that could go into any sort of permitting and other things that would go along with such a project.
Okay, thank you.
I think has there been collaboration with the sheriff to determine how much this might be? Oh, I'm seeing a nod back there that may not meet all of their needs, but could meet some of their needs.
Yeah, we've had some running conversations about the need for public safety in this county, and he's assured me that the jail is always a conversation in those conversations. But again, being a part of them are different than having others talk about you. And so, not slighting him or anybody else, and that's a live moving conversation all over right now. And so again, just would like to be a part of that, or at least talk about how can we, if we need to do something different here with this aspect.
Right. I was just wondering the degree to which the sheriff's department could be this could be an asset for them.
No, absolutely.
Great. Thanks.
I think it should be a shared asset. So you bet.
Well, thanks for bringing this to our attention.
Of course.
Okay. I think that's it. Juvenile Department. Hello.
Good morning, Council. I'm Chris Simmons-Meyer, the Juvenile Court Administrator. Got it on there. Thank you for this opportunity to speak today. As you can see, we have two positions that we are requesting. One would be a new FTE and the other would be a conversion from a project position. Just wanted to update you with your opportunity to review our executive summary that was submitted in August. And since then, we've continued to see the steady growth. We had an average daily population in detention last year of 12.8. We're currently for Q3 sitting at 22. So it's been quite a growth. I will note that 70% of those youth are there for serious violent felonies. So we're still doing a good job of keeping our focus on the use of detention for youth who are extreme risk to community. But we have seen that significant uptick. So I just wanted to note that. And then just as recently as the last 2 weeks, we've assigned 12 additional youth to probation caseloads, meaning that the court sentenced them to community supervision. Our average caseload size is about 20, so that's a little over half a caseload that we assumed just in the last 2 to 3 weeks. So the steady growth is continuing. In that context, I'll talk about the first position that we're asking for. It's a program coordinator position. This is really just a gap in one of our overall programs. It has very broad scope, and we currently just have a program manager that's overseeing that with a little bit more support from two program coordinator ones who cannot supervise people. They're just coordinating the program. And what I want to note in that is that particular area of work for us is really focused on our ongoing system improvement as well as our community-based engaged work. So there's a lot, as I mentioned, going on there. And as of last year, we did engage in a probation system review, making sure we are going in the correct direction, especially in the midst of all this increase that we're seeing in our system. We want to make sure that we're abiding by best practices and really doing the best that we can to change the trajectory for youth and keep them out of the adult system. We are currently engaged in efforts to better measure our outcomes for our programming. And we're also looking at our response grids and different things like that. So by adding this supervisor, it will allow that program manager more time to do that kind of higher level strategic planning and system improvement. Right now, the focus is really heavy on the people management side. So that is that request. The second request that we have is for our juvenile detention officer position that is currently a project position. It expires at the end of the year. So we have about 14 months left with that position. Once we hire, it takes about 3 months before they're actually operational and able to support that staffing level. I'll just mention, we talked about just for the candidate to consider a detention officer position, they're looking at 24/7 shift work, working weekends, inclement weather, holidays, things like that. And so to also assume the risk that the position could end within 12 months puts an extra burden on our recruitment and the type of candidates that are interested in those positions. And then the other complexity to this has to do with our change in the workforce. We had really high retention rate pre-pandemic. In the last 5 years, we've had a 50% retention rate. We have hired 39 detention officers since 2020. Our full FTE in that program is 30. So we're just continually in a hiring process. We're in a smaller scale to the jail. We only currently have 2 vacancies, but as you can imagine, with 30 staff, 2 vacancies, there are impacts. We believe in officer wellness. The healthier the officer, the better they're able to deliver quality services to our youth and keep our facility safe. So we do support, the protected leaves and them being able to take the time off that they need. We also want to avoid the overuse of overtime that really, is a lot of wear and tear for staff emotionally in their home life and their work-life balance. So we support all of that. We just really do advocate. We're understanding that we needed a higher level of staffing than we did pre-pandemic, based on not just kind of that high turnover rate that we're experiencing, but also the additional protected leave that's available for staff, for all staff. And that would conclude my comments. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Not a question, just a real quick comment that I would anticipate the needs are going to continue to grow. We're just starting to see kids aging out of home and things like that in the system from COVID. And, we're going to be continually seeing the downwind consequences of that time period.
I would agree. I think what we're experiencing right now, like I mentioned, the high level of serious violent offenses is the first time. I've been doing this for 28 years, and what we're seeing with the level of weapons and felonies, we aren't at a higher crime rate at this point, but the composition of the offenses coming in are tending to skew more towards serious violent offenses.
Is there data related to the impact of COVID and
there's a lot of research emerging just about the health of the kids right now. Suicide rates are increasing, school connectivity. There's a lot of concerns about how many kids we kind of lost during the pandemic. So, we're still it's emerging, but definitely seeing shifts.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Prosecuting attorney. Welcome.
Good morning.
We finally got to the P's in our alphabetical list.
We'll be faster. Good morning, Council. Tony Golick, County Prosecutor. Requesting one position in this work session, Deputy Prosecutor position. You've heard me talk extensively about how we're using grant funding in the prosecutor's office to fund positions and keep up with the workload. Downside to that is that sometimes those grants aren't renewed, and that's what happened here. We had 2 auto theft task force grant funded positions that did a great job working with law enforcement and bringing down auto theft crime in Clark County. We lost one of those grant funded positions. So our general felony team that handles auto theft as well as all sorts of general felony cases, so property crime cases in particular. It's the biggest unit in our office. Went from 9 DPAs down to 8 DPAs. We need that 9th DPA, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney, to keep up with the workload. Caseloads are very high. You are hearing about increases in law enforcement across the county. We're expecting increases in law enforcement numbers. For the sheriff's office, we're going to see it with the Vancouver Police. We're going to see it in Battleground, Ridgefield. So they're all increasing the numbers of police officers. We've increased Superior Court judges by 2 judges. You heard, I think, correct arguments from the clerk that he needs an additional clerk when you increase judges. Same thing, there's an impact on the prosecutor's office when there's a lot more dockets that we need to staff also. So the workload has not decreased. It will continue to increase. So I'm requesting that we fund that DPA position that we've lost so that we can keep up. I would say that if we just increase law enforcement and don't keep up with the prosecutor's office and the prosecutors can't keep up, well, then we really haven't accomplished anything by increasing law enforcement. So we have to keep the prosecutor's office up with law enforcement. I'm not requesting some big giant number of additional DPAs. You're always going to see very, very cautious, just keep up type numbers with the prosecutor's office and requests. That's what I've always done historically. That's what I'm doing here. But we do need that position to keep up with the workload on those cases. That's all I have.
And what about the capital?
That's more of a placeholder that is our folks over the DV unit have a rent sharing agreement with the city of Vancouver. I'm very hopeful that the city of Vancouver will go ahead and continue with their share of the rent on that. I've been told by VPD they're waiting to see what Prop 5 does. So we'll see if theoretically they said, hey, we're not going to be part of that rent sharing anymore. We would just need to move. We would need to either pay all of the rent or just move that team back over to a county building. So that's just sort of a placeholder that's up in the air. I'm not really requesting that now, but just want to make sure that the council is aware that that could happen. We'll find out here pretty soon, I think.
Great, thank you.
Right.
Are there any questions from council? Yeah, I think what we learned with Law and Justice this year is if you increase something in one area, it impacts the entire system. So
Absolutely.
aware of that. And I know that you received some ARPA funds in the past for several positions, and that funding didn't continue. So
Actually, I did that. So I'm not talking about that in this work session.
I was just curious.
That is going to be part of the county manager's proposed
Got it.
budget that you continue to use some ARPA funding for those a few of those positions.
Okay,
But I
great.
didn't talk about it here because county manager said we're not doing that in this work session.
Okay, well,
And
who knows?
I'm a rule follower.
That's reassuring. Thank you very much.
Thank you, council.
Public Works. Good morning.
Morning, Chair. Morning, Council. Please hear me on this mic?
You turned it off.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why it's not working. Good morning, Chair and Council. For the record, Ken Lader, Public Works Director. Today, Public Works has before you 2 items on the critical needs list. The first one is a request for a one-time expense authority of $560 impact to the general fund. That is part of our $63,000 request for authorization for training for management within the department. The expense would be allocated across most of our Public Works major funds. And as I said, impacts the general fund $560 in 2026. After a period of leadership transition, as most of you are aware, Public Works is now in a critical phase of growth and transformation. I'm happy to say that the department has stabilized and is now focused on integrating new employees while maintaining our high performance and service standards. This request will provide structured management training for Public Works program supervisors across the organization to support our goals of providing consistent leadership, communication, and organizational optimization while securing our future stability. Again, this request is for the one-time expense of $560 impacting the general fund and is well leveraged with our allocation against the other Public Works funds. Our second request is for also for approval of a one-time expense authority in the amount of $150,000 from the general fund for cleanup of illegal camping dump sites within the railroad right-of-way. And specifically, this is along the Cold Creek drainage area near Highway 99 and the BPA Ross Complex area. So this requested these requested funds will serve two purposes. One, the hiring of a cleanup contractor from available state contracts for encampment remediation services to clean up portions of encampments within the railroad right-of-way. And then two, to work with WashDOT, Bonneville Power, and internal forces to install deterrent items such as barricades, rocks, and fencing to help deter future encampments from establishing in this area. And that's it.
Chair?
Yes, please go ahead.
I quite a few questions about this. Number one is this on right of way that is under the contract of the railroad operator?
This would not be within the contract for the lease for the railroad operator and would be separate from that.
So, I mean, I apologize, I didn't ask that very well. So, I mean, the actual location is that area that is under the lease, or is that right of way that's not a part of the lease?
I believe Kevin Tyler's online and can probably answer that more directly for you, Counselor.
Good morning, Counselor. So this falls within right-of-way that is leased by the railroad. However, the lease as written places the responsibility for public dump sites within the county's responsibility. So it's not the railroad operator's responsibility.
So is a campsite considered a public dump site?
I don't think the campsite itself would be considered, but what's left behind is considered public dumping.
Okay. All right. And then what was my other question that I had going through my head? So this is what, oh yes, so the prevention measures, yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard to prevent that. And I don't know if, I mean, if we're looking at spending money on prevention measures that are not going to be impactful, that I have that concern.
Yeah, the prevention measures are something we're considering in coordination with Department of Transportation and possibly Bonneville Power Administration. And those would be measures that would help prevent some of the large scale refuse that we're seeing in these locations. So preventing things like there was a car in one location, mopeds in another location, larger things that people are bringing in. So preventing some of that larger scale dumping that is so much more expensive to clean up.
Okay. And then is this area right here is right on the division between city and county. So I think the north side of the track is county, the south side is city, although the right of way is owned by the county. But I'm wondering if are you coordinating your efforts with the city of Vancouver on this?
Yes, we are coordinating our efforts with Department of Transportation, City of Vancouver, and also the Bonneville Power Administration. So On the upstream side of Highway 99, it's been a combination of the city, Bonneville Power, and the county. And then on the downstream side of Highway 99, it's been Department of Transportation and the city and the county.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? So I presume people have been relocated and this is just dealing with what remains?
Correct. We started an effort on the upstream side with BPA a couple years ago, did some cleanup, realized it was going to be a lot more expensive. And then last year, the Department of Transportation came in and worked on a larger encampment on the downstream side of Highway 99. So this would be to come in behind both of those efforts and finish some cleanup and continue to make sure that people are not camping in there.
Great, thank you. Is that it? Okay, thanks a lot. Sheriff's Office. The sheriff and his team. Oh, they're at the ready.
Good morning, counselors. Good morning, Chair. All right, we're here to talk about some requests that we put in for staffing and some equipment. I kind of like to parse this out because I think we've talked about Senate Bill 2015. So some of the requests that were put in at the beginning of this budget process, Senate Bill 2015 hadn't even been passed yet. So I kind of want to, and I've been talking with the county manager, meeting with her over the last few months. We've worked collaboratively about a plan for 2015, and I want to say a month or two ago, the council voted that to take the 0.01% out of 2015 once the sheriff's office eligibility went into effect. So I want to recap that. So the beginning part of this is our request for the FTEs that we asked for. I want to move that over to, it's still being asked for, but the request changed, and I talked with the county manager yesterday afternoon or early evening about presenting to the council what our request, our staffing request is going to be out of that, because the money's provided from 2015 out of that tax. It's a very good, I put it this way, a very good Band-Aid for the sheriff's office and for other public safety, the jail, staffing, some other departments that might feel it. I'm just going to throw them out there, district court, prosecuting attorney's office, the possibilities that go with that. So 2015 is very, very good Band-Aid, but in the future, in the next few years, they're still going to have to probably discuss some other type of tax revenue to make up for the shortage in staffing. So the staffing issue at the sheriff's office is still real. It hasn't gone away. I just want to read you a quick email, 1 or 2 lines from it. Every week I get these. I see them on critical incidents. We had a homicide this weekend in Hazeldale in the early mornings. The detective sergeant, one of them is here as well. It says in here, patrol was tied up on another felony domestic violence scene, which delayed the immediate response, so we couldn't get to where the shooting was. So Vancouver police had to come up from 6 miles away. So our staffing is still an issue. It's weekly. I get these emails and briefings about how short-staffed we are. We should at least be able to handle two major incidents at once in the county, and we can barely handle one. So I just wanted to read that. I can forward these on to you, and then he might even discuss a little bit in the investigation how our staffing shortage affects those investigations. So the staffing requests that we have from Senate Bill 2015, I'd like to present to you at least before the first week of December when we come with our final requests and there's public comment. So we were talking about possibly sometime in mid-November of what that plan looks like. It's a very good roadmap for the next few years for our staffing. And again, Senate Bill 2015 accomplishes that. So there is some questions on Senate Bill 2015. There's 2 parts to it. There's grant money. I know we've discussed this. And then there's the sheriff's qualifications for taking that tax. There will be grant monies that we put in for, not for FTEs. It's not a good system to put in for FTEs because that grant money comes and goes. It will be for other things such as retention bonuses, maybe cover some of the additional academy costs. There's a whole list that we are going to be putting in for those monies, which helps us quite a bit. If we're granted those, that helps also, it goes down, it supplants from the general fund. So it helps us
accomplish some of those things that would normally have come out of the general fund. The FTEs are out of that tax, are out of the tax. So there's some discussion about the sheriff's office qualifications. We're already accredited nationally. We're the only sheriff's office, I think, in Washington that's accredited nationally. So we've already meet all these standards. What this Senate bill put into effect were more like electives. Like, we believe out of this, we want so many people to have this extra training. So that's kind of breaking it down real simple. Is we're not missing anything, any state mandates that we have. These were a list of electives that they wanted to see agencies have before we could put in for the tax. So once they came out with those specific elective not recommendations, but requirements, excuse me, I think they came out, the bill passed at the end of April, and it took several months, maybe 3 months, 4 months for them to actually say what they were. The Criminal Justice Training Center had to interpret them. Then as soon as we got them, we've been on full court press on getting those done. I believe the jail has a few things that they have to do as well, so it included them. They wrote this as though every jail and sheriff's office was together. So I know the jail, we've had these meetings, and they're working on theirs as well. I'm very, very confident that by the end of mid-December to end of December, the county manager and I can both attest that we meet these requirements. So we're on a very good path. I'm not concerned about that at all. But we do need to come back to the council for the approval of the positions. And what we have asked for in that, and I think it's very reasonable, the county, like I said, the county manager and I have been meeting for the last few months, working on a roadmap, is 21 enforcement positions. That's 20 deputies and 1 sergeant. That includes, I think Councilor Young or Councilor Fuentes asked if that was the full package. It is, includes a car. Initially, if you see a breakdown, you have to add a car, you have to add the firearm, you have to add all the equipment. The first year is higher, and then it comes down years after that, and then it kind of levels off. 4 support staff for our records division, and then one volunteer coordinator and a communications specialist. The volunteer coordinator is a very important position. We have a lot of volunteers that we don't have a full-time person to manage them, and you do need that. We have, I think, 43 volunteers now. They help with parking citations, abandoned vehicles, tagging them, whatnot. There's a vast array they can do of non-emergency help that helps the sheriff's office. So those are the positions we're asking for. I have a package ready to go. And like I said, the county manager and I just discussed it yesterday of a timing of when we can present that to the council. I believe the other departments will have their requests in that as well, but I don't want to speak out of turn. Go ahead, Chair.
Well, the question I had was, should we remove the 14 deputies and 1 sergeant, including vehicles and equipment, because there will be this other package that comes forward? I'm not sure how to look at this.
Yeah, so these, I would say we don't have to change any of these because this is not necessarily part of the full annual budget process that you're going to see. This is a parallel process. So I don't think adding or removing at this point is necessary. If council was going to consider amending the recommended budget to include them, that's where I would say probably hold off until we have this conversation on the 2015.
Okay, thank you.
Chair.
Yes.
So the support specialist, 2 positions, the volunteer coordinator, communication specialist are brand new positions. Is that correct?
That is correct. The support specialists, we have just like other downstream effects, that's put into effect if we get the 21 enforcement officers. So that's how it's put into effect. The volunteer coordinator is a new position. That's correct. And the communications specialist would assist our current communications manager.
So we do have a communication.
We have a communications manager. Yes.
So we were complete out of one. Okay. So
That came, you were not here at the time. That came through with the body worn camera, the public sales safety tax with that. So they help quite a bit with the body worn camera footage and whatnot when we have incidents.
Okay, thank you.
Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I was just curious. I mean, obviously, I'm missing something, but 200,000 for hearing protection. What kind of hearing protection are we talking about?
Okay, we're not on if we want to go, I'm ready to move down to the equipment section here if we want to.
Oh, I'm sorry if I'm.
Oh, that's all right.
Moved ahead. Yeah, I'll wait.
Okay, and so I do have some subject matter experts here to discuss those as well, just so they can kind of give a brief overview. But if we want to just kind of punt the staffing issue for now and as the county manager said, we need to talk about Senate Bill 2015 with that. So we want to move down to the equipment requests.
I just have one follow-up question. If there is a list of electives that have been identified by the state that would apply to the sheriff's office and the jail, I'd just be curious to see what that list.
I'm using the word electives. You can pull up the Senate bill and read them. But if you just read the bill, it's then how the Criminal Justice Training Center interprets the bill. So that's what we were waiting for. So the bill is passed by legislators. And it was then set to the Criminal Justice Training Center to run the grant. They read the bill and then they interpret. If the bill, for example, said we need 50% of your employees to have X, Y, and Z training, the Criminal Justice Training Center then says X, Y, and Z training means this. We were waiting on those final things. So I can get you both, but it gets quite a bit into the weeds. But if you would like that, I can still send that.
I would like to see it.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
And I can re-forward a message to you all too that had the link to the training center's website. And there's actually, I think, a checklist on there of everything that they need to do. So I have sent that to council. I can resend it as well.
Great. Thank you.
And I would say we were probably 95% already meeting those. It's just fine tuning those as well. So any questions from anyone online on the personnel? Okay, so I'm going to go down the equipment. I know time's kind of an issue here, but I will talk about the sheriff's facility and the ongoing operating costs. Again, the county manager and I have been discussing this. I know there was some more analysis done. There was another meeting out there a few months ago. I think we're having a meeting on Thursday with the budget office and the county manager and Michelle Schuster to discuss those costs. So that is still a need. I wanted to put it on here. We put in some of the ongoing costs, could come out of Senate Bill 2015 as well. But we're having another meeting on Thursday at 3 p.m. to discuss the sheriff's office. We are in 8 different locations. It's not just the sheriff's office administrative team, but we're separated. We're quite a bit. We'll still have to have 2 or 3 different offices for different functions. We'll need one down here by the courthouse for the civil department. But getting everyone under one roof is very important. We don't have a training facility. We have no place. We've lost some of our training places that we have to go. We have to beg, borrow, and steal really to find places we can train. That's not good. So the overall package includes the cost. There is the same building we've been discussing for the last two years is still available, but it's kind of coming on crunch time on that. There might be another offer on it. So the county manager and I, again, we'll meet on Thursday and kind of see if there's a pathway forward on that one. Would you agree? Is that a good assessment of that?
Yes, and any discussion with council will come back to council if we find a path forward. Yes, or if we don't, we can still come back to council.
Okay, so I'll go quickly here. It talks about forensic examination and devices and training, and I also have I had kind of a priority list here too, if you ask what the priorities are, because there's different costs on these. I get that. So that's called Cellbrite. I have some expert here that can talk about it. I know some of these things, believe it or not, but getting into the details, you might have some questions. I brought some people up here. Ballistic shields for high risk incidents and involving high-powered rifles. Drone is a first responder program. We have a very good drone program right now, but maybe you've heard the term as a first responder. They've been using them down in Southern California quite a bit. You can send up a larger drone to an intersection. I know I'm taking away his thunder probably. We have an accident there. Instead of sending 2 deputies from a location, you can at least send a drone and go, nope, the accident's clear. Looks like people are walking around. So the response might be no response and or not an emergency response. That's just one example. Hearing protection, we'll get to that, the cost of it and how many we have, and then updating our rifle platform that helps with suppressors for hearing damage. So would you like to hear a minute or a minute and a half on each of these from the subject matter experts, or do you have specific questions?
Councilor Young, what's your pleasure?
Just for time purposes, let's go ahead and just move on. I can always ask those questions individually.
Okay.
Any other questions on the equipment, or would you like to hear a priority, or I can email, or I can send that to the county manager as far as priorities go?
I don't know, what's your pleasure?
Send it to the county manager.
That'd be great.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. All right. Thank you
Think we're
for,
good.
oh, let's just talk real quick about the range since it came up real quickly, because we've had some conversations. Director Shook, I couldn't really hear him all the way back there. I don't know if it's my hearing or if it's the way the mic is faced, but he and I met about a month ago discussing the range issues that he was going to have with English Pit closing. I would say you should really count on maybe even a year. The city of Vancouver can change their mind, year and a half, up to 4 years. Okay. You never know what's going to happen. We're facing, at that time, the Bonneville question was kind of unknown what we were going to do. Then we met a few weeks later. So he and I did have a discussion, and then I called him later and said, hey, do you want to be a part of a range committee? He said, yes. So he and I have been discussing. I didn't know what he was referring to as working in a silo or not collaborating. I don't know if he was talking about other entities or not, but this is not just the sheriff's office and the jail. It's Public Works, it's other stakeholders as well. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Chair, that when we had that meeting about a month ago discussing Bonneville, when I was up here, we said, hey, we need to move forward with a committee of the long term. What is this going to look like? We have a 2-year, I believe you guys voted on a 2-year continuation of Bonneville, but during that time. So we just haven't gotten the committee going yet. So I believe we are going to go in a direction. There are different needs that they might have versus us. Would it be great if we could find a facility that met their needs and the sheriff's office needs and maybe other law enforcement around here? Probably cost savings, that would be good, but it also doesn't hurt to have two, one as a backup either for a variety of reasons. They don't need as much probably area as we do. But if there is a backup that for some reason the weather or our range got shut down for some reason temporarily, that we had a place to shoot. That's correct on that one. But I believe we are going to be coming together and other stakeholders and getting that committee together. That is where we left off, correct?
That's where we left off, and I just wanted to let you know that we met with some of our state legislative delegation last week, and we'll do it again tomorrow with the remainder of them. And this is on our priority list,
Okay.
as is your new facility.
Okay.
So
No.
we're talking about this, and I really appreciate all the work that you've done. I know there's a lot of moving parts with this that may still be moving around. So thanks
Yeah.
for your work.
Thank you. And there's a possibility at the academy out in Orchards, there's room to put an indoor range. Indoor ranges are okay, but they're not, it's kind of like a batting cage in Major League Baseball. You can be in a cage, you can hit, but you really need to be out in the field that meets our needs. So there is a possibility, there's room there that possibly the jail and us and then the other law enforcement agencies that are attending the police academy could use. So that's an option as well. I just want to let you know that that's being explored as well.
I think they just have a 10-year lease, so it'd be a stop.
It's a portable shooting range. I'm not saying it's
Oh,
inexpensive, portable, but it would, it is one that can be moved. So it's just
Okay,
an
got
option. It's
it.
not the best option, but it is an option. So if there's no questions on the equipment, I can send the priority list to the county manager and she can send that.
Perfect.
And then I really do hope that in the next few weeks, maybe mid-November, that we'll be getting back on talking about the staffing requests and how it kind of lays out and how that maps out for, I know the budget office of it's nothing that can turn the faucet on immediately, but sectioning it out, seeing how the downstream effects go, and then continuing from there. So I do believe we're on a good path.
Decisions will be made in November.
Oh, I like that decisiveness. Anybody online, counselors?
All right.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thanks to everyone who came to back you up.
Didn't have to call the vote.
Okay, Superior Court. Welcome.
Good morning. Good to be with you. I am Judge Vanderwood, presiding judge for Superior Court. I'm here with Pam Hartman-Beyer, our court administrator. We appreciate you taking the time and effort this morning to review what we have submitted for critical needs to the council at this time. As you know, Superior Court is an independent branch of government. The way the system is set up in Washington is that we rely on the county for funding as it relates to staffing, our operations, and otherwise. So we appreciate you strongly considering our request today, as you have in the past as well. Those requests that we've made are really focused on what is the critical needs and what is a vital part of our system. It includes the two items we'll talk a little bit further here, as well as we want to identify our clear support for what was included with Mr. Sprinkle's representation of the IT position that would support Superior Court as well. As to these requests and that request, they differ a little bit as far as their scope and function is concerned. These two requests that you're seeing are requests to move project positions, longstanding project positions, to permanent FTEs. This is in my fifth year as presiding judge for Superior Court, and this is the fifth year I've made the request for these two positions to be FTEs. Initially, they were created for these project positions, which we very much appreciated, and they have been renewed during that period of time. I think the length that they've been renewed shows how vital and critical these positions are, and that the county and the county manager has recognized that, which we appreciate, but we strongly request that this is the time to move these positions to FTE positions. It's done within the context of our staffing levels, as well as the work that is done in Superior Court, included increased work from case filing, complexity of cases, other issues that relate to the work that we are doing. As you are aware, Superior Court consists of 16 judicial officers, 12 judges, 4 commissioners. There is additional staff then that helps support that work for the public. That additional staff comprised of 25 total staff. It includes managements, judicial assistants, therapeutic court staff members. That is substantially lower than comparable Superior Courts in the state of Washington. For example, Spokane County has 34 staff positions. Snohomish County has 42 similar staff positions. So we've had a culture and tradition of getting by with less as compared to other counties in similar positions. We have been able to do that through dedicated employees, through efforts of being creative as possible. But these positions are really underscored as vital to the work that we're doing. Wanted to talk briefly about case filings and the work and the changes that have been happening that we've seen even over those last 5 years. If we look at areas specific as civil protection order filings, for example, they've dramatically increased. We look at every year, but certainly 2019 gives us a perspective of how things were prior to COVID as compared to afterwards. And if we take out those COVID years, the civil protection order numbers have significantly increased since 2019. There were, for example, in 2019, 1,200 filings approximately. This year, we're estimating there's going to be about 1,800 filings. Those cases have become significantly more complex as well, given the forms, the decisions that need to be made by judicial officers. Unlawful detainer cases significantly increased. In 2019, there were about 1,300 filings for the year. In 2025, we're estimating there'll be about 2,400 of those, nearly doubled. Clark County for the last few years has been the highest percentage of unlawful detainer filings of any county in the state of Washington. Those are all cases that we need to be prepared to efficiently and properly move through our system. Jury trials, another one I'll highlight, significant increase in numbers. In 2019, we had 69 jury trials. This year, we're anticipating having approximately 140 jury trials, double the amount of previously. So it's just an indication of the volume of work that has increased as I highlight the need for these particular positions themselves. So I'll talk briefly just about each one of these. The judicial assistant position is a critical position to directly support the 4 commissioners that we have. Even with this position and our creative use of what staff we have, there's still 2.8, if you will, jury or judicial assistants for the 4 total commissioners. So there's not even a one-on-one support staff for each of the commissioners, even including this position. Obviously, if this position didn't exist, then we'd even be below half-time for each of the commissioners. The work that they do is critical and important to allow the judicial officer to be prepared for hearings, to interact with the public, to complete the forms and work that needs to be done. And so this is a position that we are strongly requesting move to that FTE after this long time of a project position. The financial impact, the amount that the county has been paying for salary is not going to change if this were moved to a FTE position. There would be some benefit impact that would change, but that would be beneficial, obviously, to the employee that's identified and the chance that we would have to recruit a new employee if this position were to become vacant. Secondly, then, looking at the issue of the Office Assistant 3 position, this is a position focused directly on jury administration. You know certainly that in criminal cases, a defendant is constitutionally entitled to have a jury. In civil cases, it needs to be made available if requested. The demand for jury administration is only increasing, as I mentioned, with the increase in jury trials. As an example, in 2024, there were over 43,000 jury summons that were issued in order to complete the task of the trials that were needed at that time. With this position, we have 2 positions in jury administration. So you can imagine the volume of work that is done in issuing subpoenas, working with the public, managing the jurors as they come in, making sure the system is working effectively. This is a shared service with district court, so we provide all of the jury administration for both Superior and district court. And so this is really, again, a position that is vitally needed for the system in order to function smoothly. If we talk briefly then about the position that you heard from Mr. Sprinkle in relation to the IT position, that is one that technology is critically and important to us. Our systems are reliant and dependent on it. We simply do not have resources right now to accommodate the needs that are present for us. So what we've been doing is we've been utilizing our own funds for a temporary position in order to try to accommodate our needs. That's simply not a long-term viable option to support a full-time need with a temporary position. So we're joining in that request that Mr. Sprinkle presented. We're minimizing the financial impact on the county. You'll note that he had indicated a $50,000 impact. That's because we would be using our own funds to accommodate the other $50,000 that we anticipate that we've been having to use for the temporary position. So we really think that this strong collaborative position meets the need in a fiscally responsible way for the county and allows that to move forward at this point with that position. So those are what we're requesting at critical needs at this time. We appreciate your attention and support, and any questions, we're certainly available to answer those.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from council?
Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Judge Vanderwood, just to clarify, I think you mentioned earlier as you're describing the importance of these positions that both of these positions, as long as you remember, have been renewed year after year. Is that correct?
They have. They were first approved, I think it was in the 2021 process and became project position 2022.
Okay. And you don't anticipate these positions being phased out anytime soon?
No, if nothing else, the demand's only going to increase.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess it would make sense for me to make these permanent positions. I mean, the benefits that go along for the individuals and for the positions, including job security, sense of belonging, predictable compensation for the individual, and improved morale. I think just kind of aligns with the values of Clark County, and I imagine your team as well. So it only makes sense to transition these to permanent roles since they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Thank you.
Have these employees, have they come and gone, or have there been people that have just served in these positions continuously, even with that uncertainty?
I'll let Ms. Hartman-Beyer answer that.
Great.
So in our office assistant 3 position, Becky has been with us since 2023. She's a dedicated employee. This is her source of income, and she lives in our community. With the jury assistant position, sometimes we've had vacancies that occur because a JA gets a full-time position with a judge, right? And so we have shifted who's been in that temp or that project position, but all of those employees are still with us. They've just kind of been able to graduate to full-time employment permanent.
Okay. And I believe this may be a situation with some of the other departments as well, where there are people who are put in as project, classified as project because of our structural deficit. Do you
That
want to
is
speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's been very small numbers of regular positions that have been recommended due to the structural deficit, but we're trying to fill the gaps by allowing the project positions. There are 2-year positions that we have been renewing during the annual budget so that there is continuity of service. But when you look at the structural deficit, as we shared in our work session last week, and we'll be sharing an updated version on November 12th when we do the annual budget, we're upside down. So the concern is that we provide permanent positions, not saying they're not needed. I absolutely agree with Superior Court and all of our other departments and offices. But if we can't sustain it, we're then hiring somebody and then we'll potentially have to lay them off because we cannot sustain it. So we're trying to, it's a struggle. It's the biggest struggle that our county has, is that we have grown, there are services, but we do not have the revenues to sustain our current staffing ongoing. And these positions do get benefits as well. And I do understand, especially with the 2-year, that's why we extended them in the past, is so that there is certainty that they have a job this year and next year. So they're not looking, hopefully, like in summer saying, oh, I don't have a job next year. So we try to give that 2-year certainty for those project positions.
Do we note the extent throughout all of the departments where this is the case?
We can get that information.
I was just
I don't have that number offhand, but we can certainly get it. Like I said, last year alone.
It's difficult. It's not unique to Superior Court. And, thank goodness there are people who are dedicated and even with the uncertainty stick around and
like
do
I
a
said,
very good job.
During the annual budget, we had over 100 FTE requests because they're needed. I don't see any of our departments and offices taking that for granted. I don't know, Emily, if you have any numbers on the problem.
I don't, we can't get that, but I did just want to confirm that every department and office faces these challenges with project positions, whether it's hiring someone to actually fill the position or getting someone in and being able to retain them. It's a challenge across the board.
And maybe just
go ahead.
Yeah, 1 or 2 follow-up thoughts with that too. I can't speak to other departments in the county, obviously. I would suspect the ratio of these project positions as opposed to our total FTEs may be higher so that the impact may be a little bit different, but I could be wrong about that one. The other thought, speaking, and I appreciate the county manager's position on potential funding issues moving forward. I will let you know that if and when these positions are approved, if there was a budget issue that required a cutting of Superior Court's budget, I don't anticipate that these would be what we would be sacrificing. I don't know what we would come up with, but that shows you how critical and important these positions are for us. And so we would frankly rather have these positions approved. If there are funding issues down the road, then we can deal with what makes appropriate sense at that time.
Great. Thank you. That's a very good point.
Yeah, Chair, and am I wrong here, but I haven't seen any other department request any of these project positions transition to permanent. This is the first time I'm hearing this.
There's some that are included in the annual budget process,
Okay.
and other departments everybody chose how they were presenting today. I'm sure if all the departments and offices you have project positions, if you wanted to hear from them, I'm sure they're more than happy to share that. But I do know assessor's office, they asked for
I
one to
guess
be,
it sounds like Superior Court brought it up to our attention. I mean, it
The-
must be that critical.
you haven't seen the annual budget work session. And I also would just kind of respectfully ask, just because you didn't hear it from today, please don't think it's not critically
I'm
important
not
to the
suggesting that
departments
it's
and
not there.
offices.
I'm mentioning that I didn't hear it today, Kathleen.
Yeah, because
That's what I'm saying.
there's also an annual budget
Okay,
work
and I
session,
understand that.
which-
That's fine, but we're focusing on this right now. This is the conversation we're
Right.
having.
Okay, and hence the questions. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the treasurer's office. We don't have any departments that start with Z, and so then you are our last
We're last.
presentation.
No worries. Last but not least, right?
Exactly.
Well, thank you. Good morning, Chair, Councilors, County Manager. Thanks for the opportunity to share our critical needs in the Treasurer's Office. My goal is to only come forward to you for requests when it's absolutely necessary. And we only have one budget request this year, which you will hear about shortly. The budget request was born out of my office's 5-year strategic plan, which identifies opportunities for improved efficiency, transparency, and security to protect public funds. During Sarah's presentation, please keep in mind that I serve as ex officio treasurer for all the school districts in Clark County, including the fire districts, the library district, the cemetery districts, the diking districts, and all other special purpose districts. With that said, the request before you today is a one-time request that will allow us to find a replacement system that will support the $9 billion in banking transactions we do annually, over $1 billion in investments, and also $1.3 billion in debt management. This system will manage these programs and bring transparency and reporting opportunities to our district. I'll note that my team also submitted 5 revenue packages with an increase of $400,000 in ongoing revenue, which you will see in the county manager's recommended budget. Sarah will share with you our only request this year.
I turned it off. That's right. Okay. Apologies for that. Good morning, counselors. Sarah Lowe, Chief Deputy Treasurer. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today, and thank you, Alicia, for introducing this topic. The Treasurer's Office relies on a mission-critical tool that we call the web portal. This system is the primary way in which we communicate financial information to over 120 users across dozens of taxing districts. Alicia mentioned these, but they include schools, fire departments, libraries, and more. It delivers state-mandated reports, investment data, and daily transactional updates from Workday. So the web portal really provides all of that information in real time on a daily basis. The web portal was originally built in 2006 and received only minor updates when we transitioned to Workday in 2019. At that time, we were advised that the platform was built on obviously aging technology that just continues to get more outdated. While the web portal does remain functional, its stability is at risk as we look into the future. If it were to fail, we'd be forced to revert to manual processes for delivering this information. That would likely delay services, reduce transparency, and jeopardize compliance with state reporting requirements. As mentioned by the treasurer, the importance of this system's replacement is emphasized in our treasurer's office strategic plan for 2023 through 2027. Furthermore, under RCW 3629 and RCW 4309, the treasurer is responsible for managing and safeguarding district funds. The web portal is really essential to us fulfilling that duty. It allows districts to monitor their balances and their daily deposits, their daily payments, and submit journal requests to us. There's really no, at this time, alternative method for doing this. It also serves as a delivery point for the monthly financial information, which I mentioned is required by law. And that includes the school district reports. Those are in state statute and even down to the actual reporting requirements that you're expected to provide. The Treasurer's Office, so in terms of the financials, the Treasurer's Office is requesting $220,000 of one-time general fund to complete the web portal project. Our plan is to combine these funds with $130,000 in capital funds that are left over from previous Treasurer projects and $50,000 from our budget that's available due to reduced banking cost in 2026. With all of these funds combined, we estimate the total cost of the web portal project at $400,000. Our office plans to work really closely with the IT department to complete design requirements, develop formal cost analysis, and really find the best solution. If it's not the web portal, if it's something else. In short, the web portal is really the backbone of our financial communication with these dozens of districts and 120 users. It must be modernized to ensure continued service, compliance, and data security, which is obviously of the utmost importance to the county. And we do appreciate your consideration of this request and your ongoing support of our office. I did just want to jump to one thing and say that over those 20 years that we've had the web portal in existence, we haven't paid maintenance costs on it. I thought that might come up as a question. This was developed it was a custom software that was developed by a vendor, and there was a one-time cost associated with it in 2006. And then we paid an additional, I think around $80,000 to do some modifications to it during Workday. So outside of that initial investment, we haven't had any additional ongoing costs associated with it over time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Sure.
Yes.
I love hearing one-time cost. But I was curious, so this is actually on the county website, correct?
Yeah, there is actually, there is the availability for districts to access that. It's not necessarily on the county's website, but it is an open web interface where districts outside of Clark County are able to access this database and put in their information and then get information from us. So
Okay, and so our IT team watches over that?
yes, it is part of the county's infrastructure, this application. It lives on county servers and it's behind the county firewalls. It has been a part of different security analyses that have taken place over the years. So I do know that it has been reviewed to ensure its safety and security.
And so I take it the cost estimates that you have are based on conversations that you've had with the IT team then?
I would say that we based this cost analysis on the original cost of the project a long time ago and what we needed to update it. We have had discussions with IT team, but not really about the formal cost analysis. I did put in the budget package that we still need, part of the project would be developing the requirements, understanding if this is even the right solution. There might be opportunities that exist with Workday that could help us eliminate portions of the web portal potentially. So I think it's very exploratory, and there does need to be more sort of cost analysis that would have to accompany it. Obviously, we wouldn't spend any money that's not needed, and the first funds would come from the leftover capital funds that were associated with treasure projects, and that's about $130,000 that's sitting there that if the council were to appropriate, we could use that to get this project going and do the cost analysis and determine the best path forward. We also have some commitment from our budget in the amount of $50,000. We've had reduced banking costs over the last few years due to high interest rates. That can change. We just saw a 1/4 point drop in interest rates today, which means our earnings credit will go down, and that leads to potential future increases in banking, which our budget provides for. But at this time, we're expecting lower costs in 2026, and we can provide a commitment to that as well.
Okay, great. I just appreciate the openness. You know, the idea that the way we're doing it now may not be the best solution. So I appreciate that thought process.
Thank you. At the time we actually went live with Workday, there were considerations about how to continue utilizing the system in light of Workday, but with the compressed time frame and the inability to sort of do that analysis or rewrite the web portal, it was best to move forward with the integration. So here we are 6 years later. It's worked out very well, but we are ready to really revisit this issue fully and make sure that we're doing this the most efficient way possible. Thank you.
Other questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, really quick. I guess I'm just not doing the math in my head really well because it's not written down, but you mentioned that the total cost was 430 or 40?
Right now we have it estimated at 400,000.
400,000. And then you're subtracting 50 from cost savings for banking, and then 130 from?
There's 130,000 that's sitting in a capital operating fund that's somehow woven into this. And then we asked for 220,000 of general fund one time to accompany it.
Okay, so that's how we end up with the 220.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's also an opportunity, and I don't want to confuse matters, but if it were determined that we should move forward with this project in the amounts possible, there are ways to recover a portion of the cost through our investment fee. But that said, the county is 50% of our investment pool. So part of those charges would just come back to the county. So, but we would probably anticipate putting some of the cost of the project into it once we had a full idea of the amount. So thank you.
Great. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
before I depart, I just want to say thank you, Chair, to the budget manager. She did a fantastic job with this budget cycle, with the transparency and ability for all the teams to contribute. So thank you so much for such a transparent process.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Emily, and the whole team.
So
Okay.
I've got a couple just closing remarks, but before I do, does council have any other questions that we need to follow up on?
I think we're good.
Okay, so I did just one, and we'll get additional detail, but we have about 60 project positions in the county, with the majority of them being filled. So with that said, for next steps, one, I want to sincerely thank all of our departments and offices for their thoughtfulness for this process, the supplemental, our annual process, and for all the employees who continue to do amazing work with limited resources. For next steps, November 4th, next week, my recommendations will be posted online for the annual or the annual budget. November 12th is the council's work session for the annual budget to hear the recommendations. The public hearing for the annual budget is scheduled December 1st through the 3rd. And then just as a reminder, next Tuesday on the 4th is also our fall supplemental budget. So with that, I again just want to thank everybody. It's important for them to hear or be able to share their experiences and the successes and challenges that everybody's having in this county. And I just can't say I appreciate you that much. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And it's important for the council to hear all of these critical needs, and whether or not we're able to fulfill all of the critical needs we'll be wrangling with at all of our next meetings, it sounds like. So thank you all very much. Okay, and so I think that brings us to a close of the work session. Meeting adjourned.